Okay, just before you start, Aurore, a few details about both of you. So Aurore, you are an EPFL engineer. I think genetically you were programmed to work in the energy world. Huh? Your father was leading an electricity company, I think. So, and after a very successful entrepreneurial experience in solar energy, you decided to join Romande Energie, led today by a very inspiring leader, Christian Petit, and he gave you the mission, which is not a tiny mission, to decarbonize actually the French-speaking part of Switzerland by 2024. And you will be accompanied and partnered tonight with Noémie. Noémie, who is, of course, very familiar with EHL because she's actually a strategic teacher here. And she has here a twofold mission, actually, with EHR. First, actually, to implement the CSR strategy of EHL on the 3 campuses. And secondly, to plant in each student's head or heart, I don't know, when needed, of course, the CSR sustainable kind of ambition. So thank you to both, and Aurore, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Séverine. Well, thank you very much, Olivier, once again for the invitation. I'm extremely happy to be here tonight. I'm going to start this speech by telling you a little story, which is the story of the hummingbird. You know the story of the hummingbird? This story is about a forest being consumed by huge fire. All the animals, they just come running out of it, completely petrified, powerless, they don't know what to do. And then this little bird, he just stands up and say, I need to do something. I can do something. So he just flies to fetch some water in his tiny little beak and just goes back to the fire. And then he flies back and forth like 100 times as fast as he can. And the other animals, they're just like, what are you doing? It's useless. He stops, look at them, and tell them, well, I am trying the best that I can. And that is the story of the hummingbird. And let me tell you something. It is definitely the story of climate change as well. What does it tell you? It tells you that every one of us, we do have a choice. We can choose to be the hummingbird and try and do the best that we can, or we can just sit back like the other animals, relax, and enjoy the show of planet Earth going down the drain. I'm not trying to break the mood, I promise. I'm just trying to make a point and raise awareness. So as you may well be aware of, human emissions of carbon dioxide and greenhouse gases are the main cause for climate change and rise in temperatures. So I chose to show you tonight a sneak peek of carbon emission in Switzerland. And I promise Switzerland is definitely not the best in class, and you will see why. So our emission within Switzerland, they come from road transport, mainly, households, the way we heat and cool our homes, agriculture, mainly cows, and air transport as well. What is probably relevant here tonight, and hopefully we will address the topic with Noémie later on, is that the food sector. The food sector is responsible for 1/3 of our worldwide emission if you combine transport, industry, and agriculture. But in the meantime, let me maybe tell you a little bit about our individual footprint. As I was telling you, Switzerland is not the best in class. We have a really high levels of convenience and consumerism that do jack up our footprint. We have an average of 14 tons of CO2 emission per year per person versus an average of 6 tons in the rest of the world. So you're going to tell me, what kind of levers do we have? How can we be the hummingbird? I'm going to give you a few numbers, maybe you'll have an idea. So if you choose not to fly to Phuket for your next vacation, you're going to save up to 3.8 tons of CO2 emission per year. Another roughly 1.8 if you choose to go wine tasting in France by train versus on an island in Greece. And probably another almost 2 if you buy an e-bike, and please be careful if you buy an e-bike, or use public transport versus your car. I'm not the one telling you what to do or not do. Up until a few years back, I was traveling all around the world, to the Maldives, to Phuket, God knows where. I had no idea what kind of impact it had on the environment.
30 seconds.
So I'm not going to teach you and tell you what is right from what is wrong. I do have a degree from EPFL. I have another degree from IMD. My degree from EPFL, I got it over a decade ago. They were not teaching us anything about sustainability or climate change at the time. I'm not blaming EPFL, please. But I think we have a chance tonight. We have a chance to hear Noémie on the topic and try and understand what is EHL telling and training the students here to raise awareness on these topics. Thank you.
Thank you, Aurore.
Thank you, Aurore. Actually, I guess our first action would be to hire you because you're doing a fantastic job. But joking aside, what we try to do at EHL is to raise awareness on sustainability topics, both in and outside of the classroom. So in the classroom, of course, we have standalone courses on the topic, but we also try to integrate the subject transversally throughout the curriculum. To give you a concrete example, that could be talking about circular economy in economics class, talking about ethics in law, or just an example from last semester, we tried to challenge our students in strategy and influence to come up with a strategy to influence the EHL community to consume more vegan dishes. And on Monday, we'll be implementing their ideas. So that's in the classroom. Outside of the classroom, we try to give our students every opportunity to be actors of change. So that means, giving them opportunities to join a committee, the Sustainability Student Committee, for example. It could be by proposing events or organizing events throughout the year or at Sustainability Week. It can be by having a student business project with a client who wants to have a sustainable business model, et cetera, et cetera. So with all of these different approaches, our goal is basically to train responsible leaders, activate this sustainability mindset, and make sure that they go on and have careers with a maximum of a positive environmental and social impact.
Thank you, Noémie. Can we deep dive a little bit into the food sector? Because I was mentioning before, there's a lot to do there.
Yes, and you're right. We have a huge opportunity at EHL to educate our student food-wise, because they have this first year, the preparatory year, which is before their bachelor degree, where they go through workshops all over EHL's campus in our outlets. So they will be firsthand seeing everything that we do. So first thing is trying to educate them to the challenges, because they are challenges to, green your food value chain. And so we really try to have these discussions with them from the very beginning, from sourcing, talking about seasonality, talking about selecting local produce, also how the products that we get is packaged. Do we have any leverage on that, yes or no? The production in the kitchen. We have a pedagogical garden on campus. How can we use the produce of our garden for the menus? How can we try to produce meals with minimum waste? And then, of course, everything that goes after, which is recycling, waste management, and responsible consumption, because they also have, as clients, or the entire EHL community as clients, have the responsibility to try to minimize their own waste and choose maybe less meat during the week and have less of an impact on the environment.
Congratulations.
And if we have a bit of time left,
yes.
I also wanted to ask you a question, because this ambition from Romande Energie to decarbonize Switzerland is extremely intriguing, but concretely, what are you going to do?
Thank you. Thank you for this question, and I'm really happy I can advertise the company a little bit as well tonight. So we work on 3 axes. The first one is that we try to provide 100% of green energy to our consumers. So we invest massively in renewable energy, wind, solar, hydro, so that the energy you will get out of your plug is 100% green. That's the first axis. Then we try to provide solutions. As you saw, the gas emission in Switzerland comes from household transport. So us at Romande Energie, we try to provide you with concrete solutions so you can make your home carbon-free. And finally, as I'm trying to do tonight, we're working on awareness and how we can raise awareness and teach people about climate change.
Magnifique. Like 4 seconds to go, but perfect. Thank you so much. So let's welcome the questions actually from you to you both. Okay, alors we have a lot of questions for both of you. Let's take a first one to you, Aurore. You're talking about gas-powered car emissions. Is electric cars a solution for the future? Considering raw materials, production, transport, and production of electricity to charge the car. Do you think it is?
Nothing is better than no car, okay? So that's the idea.
Point.
If you do really need a car, electric is better, yes. Why? Because to drive 100 kilometers, you will need, I think, I'm not sure about the numbers, but I think it's 5 times less energy than a normal car. Okay? And then the energy you consume, hopefully, if you get your energy from Romande Energie, then it's green.
Okay, good. Thank you. Noémie, question for you. Are your students clear and fine with the fact that they won't have or enjoy the same life of their parents?
Maybe we should ask them. Who here is an EHL student?
And when you talk to them, when you discuss with them, when you elaborate on these topics with them, what do they say about that?
I don't know if they look at it that way. I'm not sure that... I understand the angle and the approach. I understand the idea that, unfortunately, millennials and Gen Z have inherited from a situation that is not ideal, and that means that if they live the same type of life that we did, or that our predecessors did, we're going straight into a wall. Mm-hmm. Now, I think that it's still time for older generations to make radical changes. And I think that what I tell my students on a regular basis is that we're not asking them to be perfect. We're not asking them to live like monks. But what I think they should do is try to challenge themselves one aspect at a time. So maybe make one little change in your life, not one that you're doing anyway because you don't like meat, mm-hmm. but one that, makes you a little bit uncomfortable. And take that step. And then, once you're there, maybe you'll be able to take the next step.
The next one. Okay. Thank you, Noémie. Aurore, what personal decisions have you recently made to reduce your own carbon footprint?
That's a good one. So I think the first one is probably my fight to only keep one car, because we live in, I don't know if you know La Croix-sur-Lutry, which is kind of remote and not really accessible by public transport. And I do work in Morges, and my fiancé works in Neuchâtel. So one car is not that easy, but I mean, we've been there for almost 2 years and we managed. We bought an e-bike. I'm careful, I promise. and we take public transport now. That's the first, probably. Then the second one is that we have limited our vacation by plane to 1 time per year. And as I was telling you before, I mean, you can go to the extreme, or you can allow yourself like a little bit of, I don't know. It just, you try to reduce from where you were before, and that's already really good. And then lastly, I would say it's on the food that we eat. We try to eat locally. I'm very lucky to have a fiancé that studied at EHL, so he's an amazing cook. And he gets the food as much as possible locally.
Okay, thank you. Well done. It's a question, actually, maybe we should ask it to both of you. So to achieve, actually, the zero carbon emission, it's what you were saying, really a big change in terms of behavior, okay? What could be your advice in changing this behavior? What would be the advice of the first step we could do in both of your fields? Change of behavior, change of mindset. What would be your first advice to give, both of you, Noémie and Aurore?
You want me to start? Sure. I don't know if it really answers the question, but people often see the change in behavior as a constraint, that it's going to alter their own comfort. It doesn't have to. So you can change your behavior and just live as well as you were living before. It's just a bit different.
Okay. So remain positive about that. Noémie?
I don't know if it's necessarily about individual behavior, but I think one huge important way to make progress on the topic is collaboration. Collaboration, I think one person individually will not manage, but if the hummingbird had lots of other animals helping it, it would work fine. And so I think, working with governments, I want to work with Romande Energie now, and, trying to really have synergies and make more impact.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much to both of you for this topic.